Insta360 have sent through their 2C webcam for us to try out. I won't bore you with the tech specs, but here they are on screen. But let's get straight into the footage and what you can expect from this. If you want to use this in a completely dark room with just the lights coming from your monitor, then it will perform absolutely fine for your video calls. Whatever is on your screen will be reflected on your face. So if you've got the old trusty Windows background, then your face will turn blue. But if you have got a light colour on there, then you will look more natural. There is some noise in the background, but for a quick call, you'll be fine. With natural light coming in through the window, and the image quality looks really good. There is overexposure down the one side of my face, which I kind of expected. There's been a huge improvement to the noise that was in the background of the image. There is some minimal flickering, but it is a big improvement. If you're using something like OBS, then unfortunately you cannot change the exposure settings in here, which means that you rely on the Insta360 Link controller software to be able to do this. But you do get full control of manipulating how you want the final image to look, as you have options for ISO, shutter speed, and the exposure curve. If you're sitting directly in front of a window, then again this performs well, if anything better than I was kind of expecting. You can be seen fine, but do expect the light from the windows to be really washed out. You can enable the HDR mode, and this does work in 4K, and this does improve the image, but that light coming from the window is still washed out, although it has improved slightly. If you don't have any additional lights and you are relying on your room light, then this is how it's going to look. Obviously the lighting in your room will be different to mine, so the results can vary slightly, but this is what I got, so I'd imagine you'll get something quite similar. But if you do have a set of ring lights in front of you, then you can greatly improve the image. But a word of warning, do be careful if you start waving in front of this, as the C2 can be controlled by gestures, which I will come on to shortly. The image quality is nice and crisp, and the movement is looking good too. If you do come up close to the lens, then you do get that subtle blur in the background, and this will make you stand out more. If you are out of the frame and then you come back in front of the ring light, then the auto exposure performed extremely well on this, with it literally taking about a second for it to auto adjust. Switching on some backlights behind me, and I didn't experience any issues with this. If anything, it made the exposure look better on my face, and it did give me a little bit more colour, which I will take. Having additional lighting in the background does help with that grain too. Now this is 4K 30 frames per second, which is the highest resolution you can get on this webcam, but you can drop this down to 1080p and get 60 frames per second, and you will notice a difference immediately with the fluency of the movement. Focusing on this is amazingly good. I could move a small object towards and away from the lens at various speeds, and it had no issues detecting it, keeping it in focus throughout. Very impressed with this. If you need to focus on an ID card, where people on the other end need to read those small details, then again, this worked great. The only issue I did encounter is the green light on the front of the webcam does reflect on the objects that you're showing, and I don't think there is a way that you can disable this. If you're looking to remove a green screen from behind you, then this should work fine, providing that your lighting setup is better than mine, as I did get some pixelation in the corner, but that's because I've just got no light pointing that way. And just to prove the point, I did go and grab an additional light, pointing this towards the green screen, and it did remove it. So if your lighting is good, this will be fine. Whilst this doesn't have an inbuilt gimbal, there is an option for it to reframe you. You don't really want to be going too far out of the shot here, else it will lose you, but it does seem quite reactive when you do move, and it does its very best to put you back in the centre of the frame. Holding your hand up in an L shape and moving it upwards will digitally zoom up to 4 times. Do expect some loss in quality the more you are zoomed in, and keeping the L shape positioned and moving your hand downwards will zoom back out. You can also control this in the Insta360 software if you want a little bit more precision with that zoom. And you can also reframe yourself if required. A background blur can be enabled, but I wasn't very impressed with the results with this, especially when you start banging that intensity really high, as you get a lot of artifacting around yourself. If you do want to use this, then keep the intensity as low as possible. There's also a Bokeh Effect which will only work in the 1080p mode, and this performed much better than the blurring option, with a lot of that artifacting disappearing. One thing I did notice is that I lost the 1080p 60 frames per second mode in the software. I tried toggling to different resolutions and it just would not reappear. Even closing the software down and reopening it, it just wasn't there. I could load it up in OBS and that worked fine, and this was the case for the rest of the day. Next day I tried it, the option was back there again. We do get a makeup section, but it is not compatible in the 4K mode, so you will need to drop that resolution down to 1080 to be able to access this. You do get 6 options in here, and the intensity can be adjusted for each. Whilst it does do a good job, I don't think there's any technology that can improve the way this face looks. This can focus on whiteboards, although I did experience some issues initially. Now this could be because I had two whiteboards on the wall. I did try to cover one with my body, but it couldn't seem to detect that smaller whiteboard. You do get yourself a smart whiteboard option where you can draw a box around what you want it to focus on, and this worked great on the smaller board, but obviously you need to go to your laptop to be able to do this. You can't control that with hand gestures. The image quality is good enough that if you are writing on that board, people on the other end can see what you are writing. I then moved my camera to a different position and ran the automatic scan, and this did detect the larger of the two whiteboards with no issues. I moved the camera again to a slightly different position, and again it detected the larger of the two boards. Do bear in mind the further away your camera is from that board, there will be a decrease in image quality because of it using that digital zoom. If you want to display something that is on your desk, then you can do this, as the head can be tilted downwards on its magnetic base. It is best to adjust this down the centre rather than using your hands on the sides of the webcam, as it is more likely to fall off. So this does take a little getting used to, and I don't think it's the best design in the world, but it does do the job. The webcam is completely separate from the base, and these connect magnetically. The base does come with a 1/4 inch thread on the bottom, so you can mount it onto a tripod, but there isn't a mounting hole on the webcam itself, so if you lose the base, then you will need to find something magnetic to attach the webcam back onto. It connects through USB-C on the back, and the included cable is USB-C on both ends, but you do get a converter in the box to convert it from USB-C to USB-A. When you first connect this to your computer, a pop-up window will appear, and this will allow you to install the software directly from the webcam. This is a microphone test of the Insta360 Link C2 webcam. This is the kind of audio you can expect straight out of the box. This is what the microphone sounds like with voice focus enabled. This is what the microphone sounds like with voice suppression enabled. And this is what it sounds like with music balance enabled. The vacuum cleaner is on behind me, and this is what it sounds like with voice focus switched on. And this is how it sounds with voice suppression enabled. And finally, this is what it sounds like with music balance enabled.